sometimes expanded them to go up to 40 minutes.
Very well. So they use that term.
All of those things in education, of course, those things are important.
Is going to our heads and our lungs.
The affirmations in the mirror for about 2 minutes.
This is amazing.
And doing new things for our brain.
Normal, in a sense, with all of the changes.
Which parts of the brain are used?
Based on that map that we have.
See you with your smiling.
Atul, thank you very much for allowing me to join you. Namaste to you, my.
Thank you everyone for tuning in for yet another episode of our Early Childhood Global Spotlight series. Dear friends, today I'm very, very excited to be joined by Mr. Ron Shuali from Florida, US. Ron has been one of the founding members of our Early Childhood Global Mastermind community, and we have seen him delivering some really power-packed workshops for our preschoolers. Ron Shuali is Masters in Education and has spent over 15 years working and presenting in the early childhood industry. He is best-selling author of his award-winning book, Breaking the Bullying Circle, and book is based on his successful behavior management system, which is building the 21st century child. Ron has been a top motivational speaker and a presenter with expertise in the preschool through middle school arena. Ron presents keynote addresses, does professional development workshops, school assemblies, and conferences nationally and locally. His ability to awaken the minds of students in schools expand to the corporate world as well. All his participants laugh, listen, and learn to succeed. Ron has been a student of many disciplines of martial arts, starting at the age of 12. Wow. His journey began with 5 years of Taekwondo before the college. Amazing, Ron. I welcome you to the Spotlight series. Ron, how are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the invitation. I was tremendously honored when you reached out to me. Thank you.
Great, Robert. So let's start our conversation and our Spotlight show today with Ron. Ron, how did you get into early childhood? There are very less men globally who have chosen this profession. So how did you get into this early childhood profession and doing children, things for little ones?
Well, it wasn't through the typical education world. I asked to be a martial art instructor after I did this amazing seminar that transformed my life called the Landmark Forum. My martial art instructor that I was studying to be tougher and better a martial artist, he had a wife who was a preschool teacher. He was an elementary school teacher, and they actually wanted to have another child. But the mom ran the preschool karate program, and they were the biggest one in the whole entire town, so she couldn't just stop. So after I did that seminar, the next day I went up to them. I said, listen, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I just dropped out of college. And I thought I want to be a finance major, and all I know is I want to teach kids martial arts because the most joy I ever had in my life was meeting my cousin in Israel for the second time. First time he was 1, couldn't really train him. Second time he was 8 years old, taught him martial arts, and that was my joy. So she actually said it was interesting. They prayed a couple of days ago that a solution would come because she wanted to have another child. So she trained me in the whole entire preschool martial art program, but I slowly learned that they were both educators. So I actually wrote out lesson plans so that students will be able to, and we had to come up with learning objectives and curriculum and everything. So fast forward, they had their child, and then I was actually doing a karate birthday party on the side. And a director of a preschool came up to me and said, can you do this in a preschool? And this had to be around 2005, 2006, something like that. And she said, do you have lesson plans and curriculum? I've always been trained to go yes and like the improv rule, just say yes and then try to figure it out. So I said 100% yes. I walked into the preschool. It was January 21st, 2006. And that was my first adventure in an actual preschool as opposed to working with preschool kids.
Amazing, amazing, fantastic. So that's how. So the actually it was martial arts and your passion of martial arts which made you landed into this preschool industry. You
Absolutely.
mentioned something about yoga karate.
So yogarati was something I developed about 3 years later. It was given to me by spirit or the universe or whatever, people believe. I was kind of trying to figure out as I was getting into learning yoga, how do I bring more breathing into martial arts? Because martial arts, typically the yelling and the aya, but the breathing was an important component of it. And then I was talking with two directors, and all of a sudden I'm like, I want to bring yoga and karate. And it felt like the roof came off, light came shining in, and like, oh, and then yogarati kind of came together. I thought of it. I mean, it didn't take me an hour after I got home to go onto the USPTO, the trademark office, and trademark yogarati and started developing it. And now it's gotten to the point that before I moved down to Florida, in New Jersey, I had about 7 instructors, amazing, amazing instructors, future educators, future fitness people, and we were in 60, 70 different preschools. I even spent 4 winters teaching at the Bright Horizons preschool at the United Nations. And that's when yogarati came from there. And then all of a sudden people started wanting to learn how to do yogarati. So I created workshops and trainings. And that's when I actually developed my character with the costume and everything that you're going to see in a little bit with my behavior system, as opposed to we were just going into schools in shorts and t-shirts, just teaching yogarati and just implementing different types of breathing, different yoga poses with the martial arts.
Amazing. So yoga karate is martial arts. It's karate with yoga, right?
Yes,
If
absolutely.
I get you, with the breathing exercises and all the kata you call, like, I'm not sure what you call it.
Well, kata is a couple of different forms altogether. Katas are too difficult when it comes to these kids, so I actually teach all the yogarati techniques with song. So if the song goes to, so the high block song goes to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, so it's high block to the sky, high block way up high, aya. And then they can always go onto the YouTube channel that I have and go onto the yogarati playlist, and there's tons of videos and classes on there too. But it's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Kata's too old for them, but the song, everybody loves songs.
So on your website also, you've seen that you've been called Masiha of the mind. Can you tell us a little more about this? That's a terminology I saw on your website.
Oh yeah, that
and everywhere.
My marketing person wanted that up there. I told somebody said one time when I was doing a workshop, a lot of the work that I do when I train teachers is having them get out of their own way and understanding automatic patterns and the way that our mind is designed. Like, this is a liquid computer. So I teach people how to understand and see automatic patterns. Like, for example, have you ever yourself, or anybody watching, have you ever yourself created an expectation for another human being?
Created an expectation. Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever created an expectation for a wife, a girlfriend, a child?
Definitely, yes.
100%. So now most people, they create expectations, comma, never share the expectation with that person, comma. When that person doesn't fulfill the expectation that they know nothing about, who are we automatically conditioned to get upset at?
At the person itself.
At that person. And that doesn't make sense. So we literally create an expectation. Like, for example, I'm going to do what I do in my workshops. Can I just borrow you for a second? We're going to do a quick little game. I'm going to show you what we do all the time. Ready? Here we go. I'm going to create an expectation for you and not tell you about it. Ready, set, go.
Right.
Why didn't you do it? So I create an expectation in my mind that you would raise your hands in the air and wave them like you just care. I didn't tell you. So now, do I have any right to be upset at you? I don't have any right to be upset at you, but that's how we're programmed. That's how we're programmed. So now what happens is somebody's in the audience or somebody watches a video and they think about that. And then I say, great, now who have you created an expectation for in your life? And they never told you, you never told them. And now there's this rift and it's like things pop in their head. So it's like somebody said, you're like the Messiah of the mind. I'm like, what do you, Messiah of the mind? What do you mean by that? They're like, well, you free people's minds of a lot of their stuff. I'm like, okay. And I talked to I talked to my marketing person about it. He's like, we're putting that right on the website. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to do, because I love teamwork and I love other people, and whatever their specialty is, I let them do it, and I just focus on my specialties.
That's fabulous. That's a very nice thing that you caught and you put on your website. But that's really something unique. I think that you've been doing. What have been the biggest challenges that you've seen working in early childhood, Ron?
So what I've seen so I worked in early childhood, like I said, about 15 years going into preschools, and I see that teachers are not trained in behavior management or behavior mastery anywhere near what they need. They're usually just thrown into a classroom because they need to fill up ratio. They're not taught. Even when I went to get my master's in education, I had a behavior class, but it was all theory, Erickson and Piaget and all this stuff from 15, 20 years ago. And I'm having a conversation with the instructor going, these kids are different. It's been 10 years. The 2-year-olds are talking like 5-year-olds. The 5-year-olds are developing like 10-year-olds. And the problem is that there's no sort of like one kind of system on behavior. So basically what people do when they go into a classroom, they meet all the kids, or 25 kids, and then you'll have the alpha boy or the alpha girl that sees a new person and goes, oh, I'm going to do my normal behaviors to get attention. I'm going to throw something on the ground. I'm going to make a face. I'm going to run up. I'm going to tattletale, whatever it is. And the teachers don't know what to do. There's no system. So they either revert to what they remember their parents did, they do the opposite of what their parents did, or because it happens in a split second, they just react and they respond. And a lot of times when they react and respond, it's because they have this expectation in their mind on how they think the child is supposed to be. The kids are going to be the way the kids are. If there's kids that don't want to sit with other kids, that's the way they are. Let them read a book. If there's kids that are faster, that are stronger, that are quicker, give them more responsibility. It's the way that the kids are as opposed to the way it is. So I see all these teachers, and what they do is they give orders and they bark instructions at these kids, and it's crazy. Here's the worst thing that I've seen that's happened as a society. Everybody has a Tammy Tattletale. You know what I mean by a Tammy Tattletale? The girl that loves to, Billy called me a poopy head. Or Joey said this. So Tammy Tattletale runs up to the teacher. Billy called me a poopy head. The teacher goes over with Tammy and goes to Billy. Tammy, tell Billy how he made you feel when he called you a poopy head. 15 minutes go by. Tammy wants more attention. Susie said, I'm not invited to my own birthday party. Tammy runs up to the teacher, says, Susie said I can't go to the birthday party. The teacher then goes again with Tammy. Tammy, tell Susie how she made you feel when she said that. So as young as 2 and 3 years old, we program these kids, everyone across the whole planet. We're programming people that someone can make you feel a certain way. And the thing is, that's not real. It doesn't exist in reality. In your mind, you get upset. We're not told that what really happens in this little liquid computer is you as a human hear words. We process the words. We give the words meaning. Then we respond or react to them in a microsecond. And because we're not taught that's the way the brain works, and that's the way our mind works when we make up the meanings of words, what happens is we get upset, but we're not taught to be responsible. So you hear this on TV and movies. He made me mad. She made me upset. He made me jealous. She made me frustrated. And that's the biggest lie I've seen in early childhood in the world. Nobody can make you feel any way. You choose to feel a certain way based on the way you make the words mean. But that's a whole different. Some people won't even want to listen to that conversation, because then that would mean they would have to choose to take responsibility that their whole entire life no one's ever done mean things to them. That's just been their interpretation of it. So I get deep. I have fun. I have joy, and then I drop something like this so deep that it rattles people, and then I go into doing something silly, but it got into the subconscious. And that's what I wanted it, because then it's going to start working itself out, and then we do a silly game, and later on they're just like, what just happened? So
that's fantastic. I think very deeply where you said that a lot of teachers are not trained to manage the behavior of children.
Right.
That's because I'm not sure how many courses, but I feel that eventually this cannot be taught. It only comes with a lot of experience. That is once because maybe you've been doing it and you've consciously been focusing on behavior management, so you know and you can deeply think about it. But I think this comes with experience. But I'm not sure if there's any college who can really teach you, because every child is different. Every child behaves differently, and every child they have their own mind and they have their own thoughts. Anyways, what has been your greatest achievements to this day, Ron? If you'd like to tell our viewers today.
So I have put together a 6-hour training day called the Day of Laughter, Learning, and Leadership. And it's a combination of 2 keynotes and 3 workshops. As I was doing different things, I figured let me put it all into one day. And I've actually had conferences that say for the first time, we're not going to do a conference with all different workshops and speakers, this and that. We're just going to have you in the room doing the whole thing. Why not shake it up? This is early childhood. If you do the same thing over and over, the kids are going to get bored. So make it different. So I start off in my Matrix costume doing a keynote called Escaping the Matrix of Your Mind, which we do talk a lot about that. What's interesting that you said, so you have an opinion and you're a human being and you're entitled to it. So you said that you think that behavior management has to be learned and that there can't be a system. So here's the beauty of this. A regular human being is programmed to have my opinion. I would normally say, if I was very human, no, that's your opinion. Your opinion is wrong. My opinion is right. Now I would take time out of my day to try to explain to you why you should change your opinion, as opposed to just going, your opinion is your opinion. My opinion is my opinion. Let's agree to disagree, and then we move on. But how many people just get stuck? So these are things that I talk about in that Matrix keynote. Then we take a break. I get changed. I do a 2-hour behavior mastery program, which is what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Then we do lunch. I come back in my Yogarati costume. We do some 45 minutes of Yogarati. Then I get changed into a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. And we end the day with an hour and a half of stretching and meditation and mindfulness. And then I'm beyond energized after 6 hours, and people just leave. Their bodies are amazing. Their souls are amazing. They're light. I mean, I have here, I forgot I even have this. This is just all these evaluations that I have. And then I have this whole entire thing of all evaluations of just people that are just saying, like, this training was the best training I've ever had. I enjoyed the sessions. I usually bring a book to these trainings to read, and I didn't open it once. Okay, interesting. All right, so you can tell how good trainings are over here.
Yes.
So
because I've seen some videos of yours on doing these sessions. I think they're very, very power packed. A lot of movement, a lot of excitement. You don't let them sit. I have not seen them sitting and listening. It is completely about engaging.
Well, you know what it is? Here's the deal. This is early childhood. It's not K through 12 education. These kids have super energy. You have to get up out of your chair. You have to move. It's not, actually, you don't have to. I'm sorry, I take that back. You get to. When you believe you have to do something and you don't do it, you become a victim in your own mind and make yourself upset. Like, I have to lose weight, and literally you're fine, and then you get yourself upset. So I get to. That's a whole different concept of it. But yeah, I love movement, because if you can't have the kid sitting for an hour, so it doesn't make sense for the teacher to be sitting for an hour. So we got to do some sort of brain break or pattern interrupt. The same stuff I do with the kids that you're going to see in the program is the same stuff that I do with the teachers, and then we even teach them how to do it.
Okay, amazing. So what is your advice for the parents, something that you want to tell them? Is there anything that you want to share with them, with your experiences, whatever you've been doing with children?
If I ever did I do parenting programs where I teach this behavior mastery system, but if I had a parenting program, it would be 2 sentences. Number 1, say to your kid, I love you. Number 2, how can I support you? 2 things I advise parents. Number 1, if your child loves something, like if you ask, most kids in a preschool, what's your favorite dinosaur? Most kids say T-Rex. But then you have one kid that goes, oh, well, are you talking about the Brontosaurus and the Brachiosaurus, which have 4 legs, or the flying one, which is the pterodactyl, or the ones with the spikes, which is the ankylosaurus or the stegosaurus, or maybe the allosaurus or the velociraptor? So obviously you can tell I like dinosaurs a little bit. I loved dinosaurs when I was a little kid. If any teacher ever picked up that I love dinosaurs and had me focus on that instead of just telling me, read the curriculum, read the text, that we don't even know if this history is even real now, read this and read that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, but I love dinosaurs. And then my parents are like, I love dinosaurs. They're like, you're going to business school. So, I mean, so that's what I tell people, especially in this world with YouTube. I show videos of this 2-year-old boy. Now he's 7 years old. I forgot what he was on. He was on South Africa's Got Talent, DJ Fresh. And he does mixing and all these different things. He's 3 years old. He won the whole thing. There are kids. I love all the Got Talent shows. The America's Got Talent, Every Got Talent, India's Got Talent, and the world one is where they bring it. My favorite group, V Unbeatable. Oh my God! Do you know who they are?
No, not sure.
You don't know V Unbeatable? Okay, so V Unbeatable was a group from India of like comprised of 40 kids. They won last year's America's Got Talent, and they won also the World's Got Talent. And then this year, who did I just see? Bad Salsa. Yeah, they're amazing too. So I'm getting chills. So my advice is, find out what your kids love to do. Maybe you as an adult, were told and conditioned by parents, don't follow your dreams, don't take risks, don't do this, get a job, get this, get that. And now these kids are miserable and they're doing it for 30 years because their parents said this is what you think you should do. Ask your kids what their dreams are. If you don't understand it, sit down with them. Go on a YouTube channel. I want to be a DJ. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. I want to be that. Because here's the deal. If you tell them they can't do it, I told my parents at 18 years old, I want to be a pro wrestler. They said, you can't be a pro wrestler. So I went and I found the wrestling school and I wrestled for 12 years. Like, that's what parents in the old school day think. The other thing that I recommend to parents, remember the music when you grew up. Remember the TV shows. Remember the cartoons. Remember the video games. Play that once a week. Find an old cartoon that you used to watch as a little kid on YouTube. Watch the entrance sound. Find a game or a TV show or a cartoon and sit there. And you have nostalgia. Your inner child, that little kid that's screaming for attention, that you're working with all the kids, give them that attention. Paint. Be joyous. I mean, this painting over here is from an amazing guy that he created this during a painting class. And apparently the lady told me, this guy charges like $7,000 for paintings, and that's art. It's just amazing. Just follow your passions and listen to when that voice in your head, that's the Messiah of the mind coming in talking. When that voice in your head starts telling you, oh, they're not going to be successful. They're not going to be this. They're not going to be that. Don't help them follow their dreams. That might be just your stuff inside, because you may be a computer. Like, my dad is a computer systems specialist. And I know that he even told me himself, he never followed his real dream because statistically it was too small. And I told him, I can't even imagine living a life like that. So sorry, I get a little worked up. I hope I didn't go over time or whatever, but that's it. Just let your kids do, and go watch America's Got Talent. Yes. Go watch all these Got Talents and just see what's possible. And then they could buy you a house.
Of course. Yes. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Just let them be. Let them be, and let them be what they want to be. I think that's very important. We've been seeing so many, shouldn't be saying on this, but there are a lot of parents who are doctors and they want their children to be doctors.
But why? You're a doctor. Ask your kids, what do you want to do?
At a very early childhood, I was talking to someone. Today, I was talking to someone, and there was one post on a group where I think Marianne had put that, and in fact was talking about that. Let the child be what he or she wants to be. Don't pressurize them to whatever you think is right for them. So let them be what they want to be.
And you know what it is? Everybody has their own belief systems. My belief system is that you, as the child, as the spirit, choose your parents. So if you believe that, or you would consider that this child chose you, support them.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. So tell us about your behavior mastery system. that
So
has been getting some amazing results for the children?
So instead of me, before I tell you, because our mind is designed to be oppositional, can you show the first video of me? Now, this isn't as me doing an elementary school assembly program of second and third graders. I mean, their minds are the same. There's over 100 kids in there. I use my behavior management, just the first two parts. It's a 5-part program. I use the first two parts, and you can see with your eyes and with your ears how it works. Because if I just tell you what I do, your mind might sit there and go, this won't work, this and that, whatever. Even like you said so yourself, which is beautiful. It's like you don't think that there's a system, it's something from learned. What if I were to offer you, there is a system that if you put it into place, you will have magic in your classroom. I mean, now you just have to deal with your mind going, it's not possible. Maybe it is possible. I wonder if it is possible. Blah blah blah. So,
all right, let's see it.
Let's go to the videotape.
Yep.
Gator! Are you guys okay if they're a little tired? Run! Gator! Run! Sing! Run! Peanut butter jelly sandwiches! Freeze! If you're listening, hands in there. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, sit crisscross, go! I like the way you're sitting crisscross. I like the way you're sitting crisscross. Do I want you laying on your belly or sitting crisscross? Okay, good. So now, one of the things
All right.
So notice. So what I did was part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is called the pattern interrupt. I don't go to kids, Billy, Joey, Susie, listen, why aren't you paying attention, all that stuff. I go with the way, like what you said before, every person's mind is different, but the body is the same. Our bodies are all designed the same. So that's why my system works as opposed to all these other programs with theory. This is how a child should be. This is how a child should be. When you say should, you're creating an expectation. It's not based in reality. Our human bodies are all designed the same. So the first thing I do is called a pattern interrupt. I walk into a classroom. There's 3 kinds that I do. I do songs. If I go in and if there's 20 kids, and that was a group of 100, if there's 20 kids, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. No matter what's happening, every kid's going to look. They don't have a choice about it. Second thing I do is I do accents. I do voices. I don't know if it's Irish or Scottish or Australian, or it's Southern. It doesn't make a difference. Would you like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Like, it doesn't matter. If I do something like that, you have no choice. You have to turn and pay attention to me for 1 to 2 seconds. The other pattern that I use that is also the most difficult for people to try on because they make up stuff about it in their head are animal noises. So if I walk into a classroom with 20, 30 kids and I go, woof, or I go, meow, or I go, wow, they don't have a choice. Every kid has to look at you. It's not like Billy, Joey, Susie, do this and do that. See, my world is this. I ask 2 questions, and I have the people that I train ask the same questions. How's it working? How does it benefit you? If what you're doing isn't working, how does it benefit you to continue doing it? If you keep on saying to this kid, stop doing it, and then he does it in front of you, and you're still surprised, stop doing it. Just consider, here's the thing, consider you don't know all the information in the world. It's the ego that kicks in. And then just get, there's a system and there's programs. So part 1 is the pattern interrupt. And notice too in the video, I did the pattern interrupts. I did a pre-frame, which I'll tell you about. And then the kids kept on talking. So immediately it didn't take me longer than 2 seconds to then go right back into, and then they did it. Usually it's 2 pattern interrupts, 3 pattern interrupts, and they do it 4 or 5 pattern interrupts. I mean, the kids will be focused on you. But then all of a sudden there's that part. So that's a pattern interrupt. The pre-frame is the next part, which is it's a hint. It's a way that we communicate clearly with the child as opposed to miscommunication. Like, have you ever heard your teachers, or have you ever heard people say, "You're not listening to me. Why don't you have your listening ears on? You're not being a good
Every
listener."
time.
Yeah, but the kids look at you confused, like, "What do you mean I'm not being a good listener? I heard every word you just said. You just said to me, you're not being a good listener. You don't have your listening ears on." But that's another automatic pattern that we're conditioned. I don't ask my kids, "Why aren't you listening?" I say to them, "Why aren't you following my directions? Why aren't you doing what I want you to do?" See, so that's the thing. So what happens is, we've been taught, we communicate to kids. If the child doesn't understand the communication, it's somehow the child's fault. I've been taught from my senseis, if the child doesn't understand what you're saying, you try to explain it 3 or 4 different ways. Maybe they're not auditory, maybe they're visual, maybe they're kinesthetic. So what I do with the pre-frame, so I'll pattern interrupt. Woof! Hello, everybody! And then they all look at me for 1 to 2 seconds. Then I'll go, "I like the way you're sitting crisscross. I like the way you're sitting crisscross." They all just sit crisscross. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll go, "Do I want you running, or do I want you sitting crisscross?" So that's a visual cue for the visual kids. Or I'll say, "Do I want you running, or do I want you sitting crisscross?" And then the auditory kids get it. So when you have it perfect, this is only part 1 and 2. The part 1 and 2 is for the 98% of the kids. The part 3, 4, and 5 is for the alpha boy and the alpha girl. So the part 1, you get their attention, pattern interrupt. The part 2, "I like the way you're sitting at your table. I like the way you're sitting at your table. Do I want you standing, or do I want you sitting at your table?" And every kid understands it within 3 seconds, because you're actually communicating the way the body's designed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's completely. It is not. I will say your style is not verbal. It is, engaging where your body is involved, and you give clear instructions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there is no pause in between. It is a continuous process to keep engaging so that their mind doesn't go here and there.
Yeah, there's
So I think
teachers.
I got it. I got it now. I got a very good idea about your workshop by seeing the video and whatever you've been telling. Because when I was watching it the other day, I couldn't completely understand. But now I'm with you, and I got you.
When you
So
break,
should
that's
we
the
play
thing.
the?
You don't get what's happening when I do it. So what I'll do is I'll come in and train. Like, so sometimes I work with K to 12 schools. I'll come in the morning, and what I'll do is I'll go and do a behavior workshop while they're having their donuts and coffee in the morning. Then I'll do 2 assembly programs like Yogarati, or I have a team building assembly program. But in the assembly program, I tell them in the morning, watch what I do. These are pattern interrupts. These are pre-frames. And then also I talk about the power look, which is when you look at the top of the forehead and you sing a song to yourself, because then you want all your micro expressions in your face to disappear. Because when we do the upset look, the sad look, the disappointed look, it doesn't make a difference. These kids' minds are like FBI profilers. So they just see your face do this and that, and their minds go, "Oh, I can't wait to do that again." It's like Jim Carrey or Chris Farley or anybody. Literally, it's like if you had Jim Carrey right here going, "I'm bored, I'm going to go throw a book," and now Jim Carrey comes up to you and goes, "Oh," like that. That's how the kids are with the teacher. So now if you do the power look, let's say you go, "I like the way you're sitting crisscross." And let's say the alpha boy or girl comes up to you and you go, "Do I want you standing in front of me, or do I want you sitting crisscross?" So he knows what I want, but he'll look at me and he'll go like this. "You want me standing in front of you." And in his mind, he goes, "Now make the face that I like." So what I do is, instead of going or whatever, what I do is I go like this. "I like the way you're sitting crisscross. I like the way you're sitting crisscross. I like the way you're sitting crisscross. You are doing such a good job following my..." So top of the forehead, sing a song to yourself so your own inner dialogue doesn't kick in. Now the child has to make a choice. These kids doing this behavior gets them smiles and happiness. Me doing the opposite that used to get me attention now gets me this stone cold look, and I don't want that. So now I'm going to choose to do something different. Here's the difference between my information and other people. my information, my system, these kids make the choice to change their behaviors because it benefits them and because they understand clearly. Other systems, it's because you want them and it should be this way, and this is theory. I'm sorry. These kids are adapting every 2-3 years. The consciousness of children across the planet, I'm sure people have been teaching for 10, 15 years. You probably had a conversation with the 3-year-old that you didn't even realize. You're like, wow, you should be in high school. So it's like we need to adapt to them.
Correct.
And what you said, communication is 7% verbal. So why are we talking to the kids? So sorry, I get excited.
Oh, great. I think that's powerful. So do we play the second video?
Yeah, so this is actually me explaining pattern interrupts and pre-frames. Go for it. In my Yogarati costume.
Pattern interrupts include songs. Pattern interrupts include, I do accents, I do voices. Sometimes, I don't know if this is like Scottish or Irish, I'm not sure, but like, get in my belly. I mean, I change my voice, my accent, and they're like, hey there, everybody! Whatever. If I start doing that, the kids focus and they pay attention. Okay? And then there's the other ones which are like animal noises that some people just like do them, some people are just like in their heads, like, I'm not doing that. Like, what if I walked into your classroom, none of the kids are paying attention, they're doing their own thing, and I just like, what would happen? Yeah, and every kid would look at me, right? And that's what I want. I want their attention. The next thing that I do is called the pre-frame, and I've already been doing it. And I've been getting you to follow my directions without barking one order. I do auditory pre-frames, and I do visual pre-frames. Is my favorite color purple, or is my favorite color blue? Good job. How did you know? Right, do I want you running, or do I want you at your center? At your center, right, and the kids know, and then you go, I like the way, I like the way, I like the way. And anybody ever use I like the way?
It's so easy.
Amazing.
It's so easy.
So,
and that's why I love when people just try it and go, oh my God, how come I didn't know about this for 15 years? It's because you didn't know about it until you didn't know about it. Now you know about it, so go do something about it.
Amazing. That's now I am very clear about your style and the way you make it so interesting for the children not to lose their eye from your face and their ears to you. That is very, very, very important. I think one of the very important. So that is the crux that I got from this.
Awesome.
Amazing.
It's constant.
So what?
Yeah.
Carry on.
No, it's constant engagement. I even do something called do nows. That if I have to talk to a director, if I have to help a child tie a shoe, and I have kids in the classroom, like I'll first turn the child around. So as I'm tying the shoe, I'm looking at all the kids, but I'll say to them, what kind of sound does a chicken make? Buck, 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 buck. What kind of sound does a dinosaur make? Buck, 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 buck. You know, whatever. Roar. What kind of sound does a helicopter make? And they go, ch-ch-ch. What kind of sound does a dinosaur? So I'm doing all this stuff while I'm tying the shoe, while I'm talking to the director, because I know if I leave these kids alone for 5 seconds,
their mind is going to go somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Amazing.
So I keep their kid, and this is just information that, you know, I got a lot of this great stuff from my 2 senseis, elementary school and preschool teacher, but, you know, they did what worked instead of all this theory stuff.
Yes, amazing. So Ron, what is one immediate tool someone watching us today that you can give that can make them happier? This is a bonus question for all the viewers who are watching us. So something that you can really tell them to make them happier.
I think I spoke about this before, but whatever you love to do as a little kid, whatever that thing was that you wanted to go up to your mom and dad about, and they were too busy working, or they said go focus on your studies or whatever it is, paint, draw, put your hands in mud, do something fun. If you have a pet your pet extra, go outside, feed some ducks, be in nature, just do something. Like what I would do is sit quietly for 10 seconds, close your eyes and just ask your inner child, because it's going to give you an answer. And you may not have been addressing your inner child for who knows how long. I just went to a seminar really learning about this about 2 months ago. Now I'm giving so much attention to my inner child as a 3-year-old, my inner child as a rebellious teenager, and just sit there and go, what do you want to do? And if you all of a sudden, if your inner child goes, I want to play video games, and you haven't touched a video game in 30 years, your voice in your head is going to kick in. You're an adult. No, don't do that. Find something. If you have leaves outside, go kick some leaves, kick a puddle, do something fun, and remember what it's like to be a child, because these kids want you to be childish with them. And by the way, your story, if you do this, people have the story in their head. I don't want these kids to get too excited or too worked up because I'm not going to be able to bring them back. And guess what? I totally got rid of that for you. I'm sorry, but it's done. You just saw me get all these kids in 100 kids in 30 seconds. So literally you can have your kids running and screaming and be joyous, blah, blah, and all you do is, woof, I like the way, do I want you? Like that, and then you get them back in 7 seconds, and now you don't have to worry about these kids not being fully self-expressed, because maybe when you were growing up you weren't allowed to be self-expressed, and now you want to do that to the kids and you don't even realize because it's subconscious. Just play, have fun, be a kid.
Amazing. Ron, I didn't realize talking to you that it's been more than 40 minutes. We've been
41
listening
minutes,
to you
10 seconds.
non-stop and listening to all the kind of noises and the kind of expressions you've been making. I'm sure children would love watching you and being with you in your class. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So friends, today we got a brilliant opportunity to know the great work Ron has been doing on behavior mastery for early years. My sincere thanks to Ron for sharing his insights about the excellent work that he's been doing for our children. And I also thank all the viewers on Facebook for taking their precious time out to watch this show live, and people also who will be watching us, maybe tomorrow from wherever they will log in.
Nice. Can I just share they can see? Can I just share where they can see some of this information, some of the videos?
Yes, why not? Please go
ahead. Awesome. Thank you. So on YouTube, if you can either go into a browser, you can type in www.ronshualisyoutube.com, or just go to YouTube and find it. There's actual different playlists of keynotes and workshops and assembly programs, but the one that is the most valuable for you, there's a Yogarati playlist. There's 25 different videos of me doing different single techniques and brain breaks that you can use with your kids. And there's also, during the pandemic, I did outdoor live programs. So there's tons of videos out there. And then if you want to learn about my trainings, virtual, I'm doing a lot of www.ronspeak.com. It's so simple. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me come on here. I'm so riled up right now and excited. I'm going to go out and go play with some ducks or something.
Excellent. I've been watching you playing with duck and sometimes your dog, so that
I wonder
amazing.
If they're outside. Okay, they're not outside. Now they come out and they hang out over here, and then I give them duck food. They're so cute. Oh, I love them.
Great. So friends, before I let you go, I take this opportunity to remind you about this Sunday, 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time and 11:30 in the US, the Eastern Standard Time. We have an exclusive pep-up talk for all educators and parents with the great Holly Elisa Bruno.
I love her.
Who doesn't need any introduction on global early childhood community. Please block your calendars today. It's going to be very, very exciting to listen to Holly also, like we had today an opportunity to meet Ron and speak to him.
Thank you.
Until then, good day, good night, and stay safe until we meet again. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Yes, everyone. Bye-bye.